Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about another topic in the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants. It is a chapter in that we have different topics. We have already completed the topics of root and the regions of root and modifications of root. Now we entered into the topic of stem. In the stem already we have completed about the information what actually needed to discuss about the stem and their structures, what they develop on the plant axis like stem. Everything we have completed, students, and the main functions of the stem we have completed. Now in this lecture we will go to discuss about another topic in this particular chapter, that is about stem modifications. Already we seen the root modifications. In the same way we are also discussing about stem modifications. Wherever, whatever the structure it may be, simply they are going to show their structural changes and different forms in their organs. It is called modifications. You know, I think, students, why should these plants are going to show the modifications? What is the reason behind the modifications? The main reasons are, you know, the living organisms like plants and animals modified their organs for the better survival, or they want to adapt to the environmental conditions, present environmental conditions which they are present in their habitat. To lead their life normally requires right and appropriate changes in their structure, changes in their form of organs, what generally we see, through which they can easily to adapt to the present environmental conditions for better survival. Understood? See here, now in this lecture we are going to discuss about stem modifications. What is the topic of this lecture? That is stem modifications. What is stem modifications? Here already we know stem. What is stem? Stem is a aerial part of the plant. Stem is in general it is a aerial part of the plant. Aerial part of the plant. Understood? And it is one of the plant axis which they are growing towards the light, which shows phototropic movements, positive phototropism and negative geotropism. That is the part we already understood clearly in the through the previous lectures. So that is stem. So in this stem, what generally it is growing towards the light as an axis, a vertical axis which grow towards the light and bearing different plant organs like leaves, flowers, fruits, etc. All those are the structures like branches also. Everything just only to all of those organs of the plants are only supported by a plant axis called stem. But this is the stems in some plants. Stems in some plants, what happens? To overcome the adverse conditions which are very much important for better survival and to adapt to the environmental conditions, present environmental conditions, plants in some, stem in some plants, stems in some plants are going to be get some structural changes and different forms we generally seen. Those are called stem modification, students. Understand? Right, ma'am? So write down here stems in some plants, stems in some plants shows structural changes, We are not expecting always the stem is in the condition vertical. erect, cylindrical. Stem is not always typical. Stem is not always typical. To expecting to see, it always a vertical, cylindrical, erect axis of the plant. Understood? So stems of some plants are getting structural changes. Those are called adaptations, those are called modifications for better adaptation towards present environmental conditions. For what? For better survival. So see here, stems in some plants shows structural changes or different forms of structures to adapt structures of plants to adapt present environmental conditions. For what purpose? For better survival. Now you got the point, students? Stems in some plants, they are going to show some structural changes. They are not always erect. Stems in all the plants are not typical, are not erect, cylindrical, structures. In some plants, the stems are going to be changed their structures. That changes in the structures with the different forms of stems in which plants we see are called stem modifications. What they are? Stem modifications, because these modifications are taking place in the organ like stem. That's why those modifications are called stem modification, students. Understood? For what purpose? For the better survival, for the purpose of, especially for the purpose of functions other than the main functions. These stem modifications, for what purpose they are taking place in the plants or organs like stems of the plants? For perform different functions other than the main functions. Students, you please remember, other than the main functions of the stem is a aerial plant axis which supports and bears branches, leaves, flowers, fruits. It is a main important one of the main important functions. And second function is it conducting water and minerals to the apical parts and the remaining parts which are present on the stem, like branches, leaves, flowers, fruits, everything. And also it conducting photosynthesis. Photosynthesis already said, food and nutrients what they prepared by the leaves. From the leaves to root, which is the lowest part of the plant, it is conducting across the earth through a good conductor like structure in the plant body as stem. So stem conducting food and nutrients like sucrose, different nutrients, different hormones, different enzymes, all these are going to be translocated from one region of the plant body to the other region of the plant body through an important part of the stem like plant like stem, an important part of the plant like stem. So stem is performing those three important functions or main functions. Other than the main functions, in some plants perform various or different functions, especially like those functions like, these are very much important for storage of food. In some plants, these stems are also perform an activity that is storage Storage of food. Storage of food. Understood? So in some plants, stems are acting like a storage units, storage structures. What they stores? They stores food materials or reserve food. Reserve food. Now you got the point, students. These are the other than the main functions they carried out. Now you got the point. The stem generally perform the functions like what are the main functions? Bearing. First you please finish it. Bearing or supports branches, leaves, flowers and fruits. All these are going to be supported on a particular axis called stem, and this stem is very much important for distribute the branches for long distances, and those are the branches covers more distance to produce more and more leaves and flowers, fruits. All those are the structures only existed on a particular axis called stem. So it is the main function. The second function is as conducting or transporting water and mineral salts. Water and mineral salts from root to upper parts. Root to upper parts like leaves, flowers and to fruits. Now you got the point, students. And third important function or main function of the stem is it also conducts food and nutrients. Food and nutrients from leaves to root, because root is the lower part of the plant. Now you got the point. So all these are the main functions along. Yes, other than these main functions, these stems which have modifications perform some functions other than the main functions. Now coming to this point. So that other than the main functions, what they performed by the stem modifications or stems which have modifications. In that the first one is storage of food and reserve food, and also some are they are very much useful for giving or provide support or proper attachment, support or attachment or anchorage. In some plants we seen some extra modifications shown by stems for extra functions like support or attachment. Especially this type of structures we see in the plants which are having a weak stem, which is not cylindrical, which is not erect, which is not stably stand. So that type of plants are going to show some other modifications produced by stems only for taking support and attachment from other objects. And also they are very much useful. These modifications, stem modifications are very much useful for protection, and they are very much useful for the purpose of photosynthesis. Actually the photosynthesis is an activity, photochemical activity which is done by the leaf, but in some plants leaves are not developed, though they are developing, but they are not directly developing into a leaf. They are modifying into some other forms like scaly leaves and spines. In those conditions the stem is only overtake the function of leaf and perform photosynthesis and stores water also, as succulent stems in some plants we are observing. And some other they are very much useful for vegetative reproduction, to perform vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproduction means the vegetative structures of the plants, especially like stem. Here we are discussing about stem na. Stem play very important role to produce their young copies directly from the vegetative part like stem, or the modifications of the stem are able to producing young copies. That copies which they are genetically identical to the parents, which it is also the process equal to asexual reproduction. Understood? But here vegetative parts of the plants we are using, that's why this reproduction is called vegetative reproduction, which they are going to producing young copies are called clones. You know very well. So for that purpose also this is the structure like stem play very important role for performing different functions. Some exemplary some important functions as extra functions what carried out by the stem modifications. To perform those functions only stem is getting some modifications to better survival, for better survival, which are basically need to overcome adverse conditions or present environmental conditions. If they are not showing those right and appropriate modifications itself, what happens? Plant is not able to continue their life in the respective environmental conditions which they are in their own habitat. Now you got the point, students. So based on the location of the stem, in respect of soil, with respect to soil and out of the soil which is in the aerial environment or open environment. Understood? With respect to aerial environment and soil environment, we are dividing. These stem modifications are of three types. So in which location, in which region of this environment the stem is present and show the modification, based on that particular criteria we are dividing. These stem modifications are of three types. They are underground stem modifications, aerial stem modifications, subaerial stem modifications. Here what they are. Underground stem modifications means, here meaning is hide here in this word. What it is? Underground stem modification means a stem which is, generally stem is a aerial part, but in some plants the stem hide inside the soil. Understood? Not completely, some part of the stem is going to be situated below the soil. That type of, in that particular stem which hide or below the side of the soil are going to show some modifications. That particular modifications occurs or taking place under the ground or under the soil. Of course, from the stem which hide or below the side of the soil. That's why these stem modifications are called underground stem modifications, students. Now you got the point? Underground stem modifications. And second one is aerial stem modifications. Aerial means out of the soil. These are the stems are going to show the modifications which are not come in contact with the soil. These are the modifications all are there on above the soil what the stem is going to be taking place. What the stem is growing towards the light which is not directly contact with the soil. On that stem we have some modifications generally we seen. Understood? Those modifications are taking place on the plant axis or the plant products. Whatever the structures they are producing from the plants are only shows modifications. These are the modifications are there on the aerial part of the plant body, aerial stem. That's why these stem modifications are called aerial stem modifications. Subaerial stem modifications means here these are the stem or parts of the stem like branches are going to contact with the soil and as well as contact with the open environment. So in between these two, these are the branches or the stem parts are show some modifications. That's why this type of modifications are called subaerial stem modifications. Subaerial stem, these stem modifications are come in contact with the air and as well as means outer environment and as well as soil. So these two are the regions are required to show these stem modifications in some plants. Such kinds of stem modifications are called subaerial stem modifications. Now have a look into those three different types of stem modifications what we have. Understand? See here, students, based on a criteria that is location of the stem, location or region of stem, location or region of stem, location or region of stem at which region it is present, and shows modifications. Here in the regions means, is it a region of soil or the region of air or open environment or under the soil or in between these two? That is the meaning of a location or region of a stem, in which position, in which area it is present. If the stem is located inside the soil, in that particular stem, if you may notice modifications, it is called underground stem modifications. If the modifications you may see in the aerial part of plant body, that is a stem which grow on above the side of the soil, in that stem you may notice modifications are called aerial stem modifications. Already I said. So that is the meaning of location and region of stem at which region it is present and shows modifications. We broadly categorize these stem modifications are of three types. Students. First you better to list all those three types of stem modifications. So in that, what they are, first one is underground stem modifications. The second one is aerial stem modifications. Right, students? The third one it is subaerial stem modifications. Now you got the point? Like that, three different regions are going to needed for perform these modifications in the stem. That's why we are going to broadly categorize the stem modifications into three categories. What they are, students? The first one is underground stem modifications. The second one aerial stem modifications. The third one is subaerial stem modifications. Okay, of course, in the underground stem modifications, so many modifications are there in the nature or in the environment or in all the plants on the or all the plants in the environment or nature. But here some types of stem modifications they given. Understood? Some types of underground stem modifications, some types of aerial stem modifications, some different types of subaerial stem modifications they given in our syllabus. So we need to discuss about all the different types of modifications what they given for each type of stem modifications. Some of the types of stem modifications we seen under the underground stem modifications. Some of the types of stem modifications we seen in the aerial stem modifications. Some of the types of stem modifications we seen in the subaerial stem modifications. Now we better to write all the types of stem modifications what come under these three. Okay, so in that the first one is what it is, students? The first one is underground. Students, you please understand each and every content, each and every line what we are discussing in this content. So underground stem modifications. In this underground stem modifications we have four different types of stem modifications they given. I am mentioning them, I am labeling them with the ABCD alphabet letters only. The first one it is stem tuber, stem tubers. The second one that is rhizome, rhizome. Need to pronounce all these terms. The third one it is corm. The fourth one it is bulb. Bulb means here not the physical devices what we seen. Here bulb is a modifying structure which we see in the stem. It appears to be a swollen part like bulb. Understood? So all these are the four different types of underground stem modifications we see in students. The next category that is about the second one, that is aerial stem modifications. Different types of stem modifications they given under aerial stem modifications. Here also we just labeled them with the ABCD alphabet letters only. So the first one is, here different types of aerial stem modifications they given. In that the first one is stem tendrils. What they are? Stem tendrils. The second one it is thorns. Thorns. The third one it is phylloclads. 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 The fourth one it is cladophylls. Cladophylls, also called as cladodes. Cladodes. The fifth one is, that is bulbil. You please observe check the difference between bulb and bulbils. Bulb is a underground stem modification, bulbil is a aerial stem modifications. Now you got the point? How many types of aerial stem modifications they given? 5 types. They are stem tendrils, thorns, phylloclads, cladodes or cladophylls, finally bulbils. Now you got the point? All these 5 are the different types of aerial stem modifications. Now we go for, note down all the types of subaerial stem modifications what they given in the syllabus. Understood? The third one, here I am writing, you please note this. The third one what it is? Subaerial stem modifications. Subaerial stem modifications. Now you got the point? Subaerial stem modifications, here they given like different types they given in that. The first one, what it is? Runners. The first one is runners. The second one is stolons. The second one, what it is, students? Stolons. The third one it is, right, suckers. Suckers. The fourth one, that is offsets. What they are? Offsets. So like that we have all these 4 different types of subaerial stem modifications we seen. What they are? Runners, stolons, suckers and offsets. So all these are the different types what generally we seen as stem modifications. These stem modifications, all these are not projecting or formed at one particular region. They are not all those are the stem modifications formed in the stem which is hide inside the soil or underground the soil. Okay, some are they formed under the ground, the stem part which hide. In that only we seen those modifications are called underground stem modifications. Some of the modifications are there in the stem, of course, the stem which is come out of the soil and has aerial part. In that only we seen some modifications are called aerial stem modifications. Subaerial stem modifications means the stem parts like branches which come in contact with the soil and as well as air, outer environment. In these 2 conditions are required to show these modifications are called subaerial stem modifications. So we better to discuss in detail discussion about each and every type of stem modifications what we have. So we better to start our discussion with underground stem modifications like stem tubers. Next we go for rhizome, next we go for corm, next we go for bulb. Like that only sequentially in the order, systematically we are going to discuss about all the types of stem modifications what we have. Now you got the point, students. Now have a look into all those are the different stem modifications what we have. So we just start our discussion with the underground stem modification. In that way, now we are going to discuss about the first type of stem modifications, that they are underground stem modifications. What they are? Underground stem modifications. Underground stem modifications. You know already what type of underground stem modifications they given in our syllabus. Okay, underground stem modifications here, like underground stem modifications are nothing but generally stem is outer part of the plant, outer part or aerial part of the plant, but in some plants what we seen, the stems which they are growing towards the growing and located inside the soil or under the ground they located, that maximum portion of the stem they are only present under the ground and contrary to the normal aerial habitat of the stem. So these are the, in some plants the stems are located under the soil and shows modifications. These modifications are very much important for storage of food, especially underground stem is what the modifications it shown in some plants are very familiar for storage of food materials, and they are not only storage of food, they are also performing functions like overcome the adverse conditions, overcome the conditions of unfavorable conditions for growth and development. So these conditions are tied over by the underground stem modifications. These conditions are tied over by underground stem modifications. So they are not only performing function like storage of food, they are also very much for overcome the adverse conditions by reserve the food for their plant growth and development until they are getting favorable conditions. They as it is preserve the material which is needed for increasing generations under the soil, and from the other animals also they store some propagules through which they are going to propagate their generations. So that's why it is also perform another function like vegetative propagation. What it is, students? Vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation through which they are increasing plant number. Now you got the point. So all these are the different activities performed by the underground stem modifications. Now we better to discuss about that different types of underground stem modifications they given now. In that the first one is stem tuber. What it is? Stem tuber. Generally these stem tubers where we seen these stem tubers in a potato plant. So stem tubers of potato is a very good example for underground stem modification. Is a very good example for underground stem modification, students. In potato, how do the underground stem of potato is going to deposit the food or store the food by the decumulation and deposition of food? How this underground stem is going to be swollen to become swollen to form a structure? It is like a tuber. What potatoes we are observing as vegetables, what we are buying from the market. So all those are the potatoes which they are looking like a tuber or a small ball like structure. What we seen, it is not, of course it is collected from the underground portion of the plant only, but it is not, but they are not roots, they are stem modification, students. How do we came to one conclusion about those structures as stems? Once you see here, so here stem tubers of potato. See here, this is the plant like potato. Suppose to think it is a potato plant which is going to underground part of the, this is the from here to here, it is the portion which we are calling stem, but it is the soil. Under the soil this stem portion is there na? This is the underground stem. Okay, from here onwards this is developing into, it is giving the further development of root. What generally they are producing here, now you got the point. Okay, up to here what it is a stem. So it is underground stem, and above the side we have all those are the leaves, and respect to structures what generally we see in the remaining portion of the stem will be there, but maximum portion is tied inside the soil as underground stem. What is the stem? It is underground stem. This underground stem is going to bear so many, if it is a stem, what we see in stem generally differentiates into nodes and internodes. From all the nodes what they are producing lateral branches into the soil. All these are the lateral branches, they percolate into the soil like this. Now you got the point. All these are the branches are percolate into the soil like this. All these are the lateral branches. What these are? These are called lateral branches. Lateral branches, the branches which come from the main stem. This is the main stem. Now you got the point, students. This is the main stem. This is the main stem from which all these are the lateral branches or branches of stem they are projecting into the soil. Now you got the point. So in this particular plant we have the tip of the lateral branches. The tips of the lateral branches, what the food is prepared by the leaves, translocate them, the food materials translocate them towards the tips of the lateral branches. Then due to the accumulation of more amount of food in the tips of the lateral branches, what we seen, slowly the tip of the lateral branches become swollen. Now you got the point? Become swollen due to the deposition of food which we seen in the Solanum tuberosum. It is a scientific name of potato. Solanum tuberosum is a scientific name of potato. In the potato plant we see in these lateral branches, which the branches are also the parts of stem only, the underground stem which bearing lateral branches, the tip of the lateral branches deposits food materials which they are in the form of starch or carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are starch, they only reserve food in the tips of the lateral branches. So the tips of the lateral branches slowly become, they are developing into a small tubers like structures like this. See here, all these are they developing into small tubers like structures. See here. All these are the potatoes what now we are buying from the market. Once you see, there appears to be a ball-like structures. All those are the potatoes they developed under the soil, but they are not roots. They are developed from stem only. Understood? Because these are the tubers-like structures what we are calling. They are completely differentiated by the nodes and internodes. The nodes and internodes only we seen in the part of the plant. Is it stem or root? Already we discussed it. The differentiation of stem is only the part which is differentiated into nodes and internodes. Nodes and internodes. From every node, we are expecting the projection of leaf and buds, axillary birds. Now you got the point. So that type of nodal regions are clearly seen in this particular structure. So it is a stem part. It is a stem part which they are due to the deposition of food they are developing into tuber. That's why simply it is called stem tubers. Stem tubers. Stem tubers we seen in an exemplary plant like Solanum tuberosum. What is the scientific name of potato? Potato scientific name is Solanum tuberosum. Solanum tuberosum is the scientific name of potato. In this plant only we seen that particular structures like potatoes are going to be developed. These potatoes are stem part. Due to the deposition of food only, slowly that cylindrical lateral branches become swollen to a bag-like structure or a tuber-like structure, tube-like structure. Due to deposition of food only, they deposits the food here. What type of food they deposits here? They deposits food like starch. And one more example you better to write to observe the stem tubers of potato and stem tubers of Jerusalem artichoke. Its scientific name is, what is that? Jerusalem. It is a plant artichoke. Jerusalem artichoke is the plant in which plant we seen this type of tubers only. How we see in the tubers of potato, in the same way in the plant Jerusalem artichoke also possess these stem tubers. Its scientific name is Helianthus. Helianthus tuberosum. Helianthus tuberosum. Helianthus tuberosum is the scientific name of Jerusalem artichoke. In this plant also we seen stem tubers, but in this plant we are observing these stem tubers stores food is in the form of inulin. Stores food is inulin in the form of inulin. Where? In the Jerusalem artichoke. But in the potato the food is stores in the form of stored food is starch. What it is? Starch. This is the difference between Solanum tuberosum and Helianthus tuberosum. Like potato plant and Jerusalem artichoke plant where we see stem tubers. These stem tubers are the structures which they are modified by the lateral branches of the stem, which are present below the side of the soil as underground stem, and due to deposition of food only, slowly the tip of the lateral branches. What they are? Tip of the lateral branches. Note down. Tip of lateral branches. You please remember. Tip of lateral branches deposits food. That food may be either starch in potato and inulin in Jerusalem artichoke. So like that, this is the very good exemplary a type of modification, underground stem modification, that is stem tubers. Now coming to the point, next type of stem modification is, what it is? Rhizome. What it is, students? Rhizome. Rhizome is a very good type of underground stem modifications where we seen in the plants. Ginger scientific name is gingiber. Gingiber officinalis. Gingiber officinalis is the scientific name of ginger. You know ginger, what we are buying from the market as vegetable. Okay, it is the Gingiber officinalis. He is going to show a type of underground stem modification called rhizome. and so many examples are there, dear students. Here you please remember to you follow all those are the different exemplary plants what they shows rhizome. Understood? And the next one is turmeric. Dishes for the preparations of food, we are curries, we are using this material like turmeric, we are using right in our daily life activities. So turmeric scientific name curcuma langifolia, curcuma amada. All those are the very good exemplary plants which come under turmeric. This turmeric is also possess a type of underground stem modifications called, what it is? Rhizome. What is that? Rhizome. Very good. Now you got the point, students. The next exemplary plant one more plant you better to write here, banana. In the banana also we see a banana scientific name is Mimosa paradisiaca. Mimosa is the scientific name of banana. In the banana also the stem is underground. Okay, what the structure we are observing in the banana? Okay, green colored trunk like structure what we seen, it is not true stem, students. The stem is underground in location. So underground stem is available in the form of rhizome only. When it is going to spread over by producing so many buds only, that buds they projecting baby plants or the clones what they are producing. Now we are discussing about that. So in the rhizome is a structure also we see in the banana plant. Understood? Like so many examples they given about crocus and different exemplary plants they given. But you please remember these three. What they are? Ginger, turmeric and banana. So what is rhizome? Coming to the point. Rhizome is a horizontally or parallel to soil. So rhizome is a horizontally or parallel to soil and it grow below the soil and it grow below the side of soil or ground. It grow horizontally grow flatten structure which differentiated into nodes and internodes, which differentiates into nodes and internodes. When you notice nodes and internodes, immediately you know very well what is the structure it is. Though it is present under the soil, but it is not root, because it differentiated into nodes and internodes. The nodes and internodes only be seen on a part of the plant body called stem. Understood? So it is the stem part but it is present under the ground as underground stem, and it modified to store reserve food here. And all these underground stem modifications are very much familiar for vegetative propagation. Whatever the stem tubers we are observing, whatever the rhizome we are observing, whatever the corms, whatever the bulbs are all participating in the process of vegetative propagation, dear students. Here one more time we better to come back to discuss about the tuber, how to propagate their generations through vegetatively. Okay, see here, this is the rhizome. Here this rhizome is also differentiated into nodes and internodes. And from all the nodes they are producing what buds, axillary birds and terminal buds also we are observing at the tip of the rhizome, which grow horizontally beneath the soil or under the soil. Now you got the point. And also the leaves which they are present on the stem, and the stem modifications are turned into scaly leaves. Wherever you may notice All these are the stem modifications, means the stem. On the stem, generally from the node we are expecting leaf, but that stem is not present outside the soil. If it is outside the soil, then the leaf is performing photosynthesis by containing green color pigment chlorophyll, but this stem is hide inside the soil, not on the above the side of the ground. So that's why due to the location of the stem which is hide inside the soil, they are also producing leaves which they are present on these particular stem modifications, but those leaves are not containing green color pigment chlorophyll and it is not used to perform process of photosynthesis. Then these leaves are called brown colored leaves, what they are present from each and every node present in the underground region are called scaly leaves. These scaly leaves are very much useful for the protection, not for the process of photosynthesis. These scaly leaves are giving protection to the buds, axillary buds what they are developing on each and every type of stem modification which hide inside the soil. Understood? These buds are growing into an individual organisms. Understood? What that buds are detached from the all these stem modifications, then they are also growing into an individual organisms. So see here, so it is the rhizome where we see one exemplary organisms, all those are three. So now you better to draw the structure of gingiber officinalis or ginger. Draw all of you. Label all the parts. This is terminal bud because it is located at the tip of the stem. It is a terminal bud. This is the new shoot what it is developing. New shoot what it is developing from the axillary bud, and it come out of the soil with green colored leaves for conducting photosynthesis, and it is ready to separate from the parental stem and growing like an individual plant. All these are the from every node only they are ready to projecting adventitious roots into the soil. All these are adventitious roots. Now you got the point here. All these are the axillary birds. From the axillary region they are producing buds are called axillary birds, which they are ready to give young generations or clones. Understood? All these are called nodes. All these are called nodes. Node to node, this region, node to node, this is the node, this is also another node. Like node to node, this is the space we are calling what ma? Internode. What it is? Internode or internodal portion. Here these internodal portions are very much important for storage of food. Understood? Storage of food for supplying, developing young buds what they are developing as axillary buds and terminal birds. So here all these are the structures are called scaly leaves. These are the scaly leaves which they are giving protection to the young growing buds. All these are called, okay, scaly leaves. Scaly leaves are very much useful for protection. Protect the axillary birds. Now you got the point. All these are the axillary birds are going to be protected by these scaly leaves. Why they are calling as scaly leaves? Because they are not performing photosynthesis like aerial leaves, what generally they are containing green color pigment for trapping light and conducting photosynthesis, because these are the leaves are also born from the nodal regions, but they hide inside the soil. They are not containing green color pigment for conducting photosynthesis. That's why they do not perform the process of photosynthesis, and they are only for protection. To whom they are giving protection? They are birds, okay, which they are developing into young generations. Now you got the point. So this type of structures which they are crawl under the soil in the horizontal manner or parallel to the soil surface, okay, it is called rhizome. This type of rhizome we see in the plants like Gingiva officinalis like ginger, and Curcuma longifolia like turmeric, and Mimosa paradisiaca like banana. Now you got the point. Once you please come back to this particular structure about stem tuber. To understand about all the nodal portions in the potato, we better to collect one potato and draw here to understand all the structures, how do they are projecting here. Understood, students? See here, suppose to think it is a potato, what generally we are buying from the market. On that, once you close observation, once you need to pay attention on the structure of potato, once you check all the structures what actually they are present, it is a, already said, it is a stem modification. It is a lateral branch. Tip of the lateral branch deposits food. That's why it become tuber. So on this, if it is stem, we notice all these are the regions like nodal regions. In all the nodes, we seen some scars. They are present here. All these are the scars are indicating yes, they are nodes. These are the scare, from the scare only. They are projecting a particular structures like some buds like structures they are projecting here. Okay, all these are going to be projecting some buds like structures we generally see. If you are not using in the right time, what happens if you are keeping them in the dark region at our kitchen room? Suppose to think after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, once you go and check, on that only we have a small extra growing structures, tissues, they are growing on the potato. So from which region they are growing, that is the region we are calling what, Nana? Node. What it is? Node. From one node to another node, this is the portion we are calling what it is? Internode. Internode. Now we got the point. From all the nodes they are producing vegetative buds they are projecting. So these buds they are come from the nodes, that is called axillary birds. What they are? Axillary birds they are developing. If these axillary birds, if we collect them and propagate them in the right and appropriate place by sowing them, then they are growing like an individual potato plants. Now got the point? So like that they are very much useful for vegetative propagation. So all these are the axillary birds. This is the scare or indicating node. This is the scare also called as eyes. What it is? Eyes, which producing buds, young growing plants, buds. So these are also called as eye scare. Eye scare is indicating node from which they are producing axillary buds. Here only from each and every nodal portion we are observing a particular dry leaf-like structures we are observing. Dry leaf-like structures they are projecting. These leaf-like structures which we are calling what, ma? Okay, scaly leaves. What they are? Scaly leaves, which they are giving protection to the young growing buds. Young growing buds. In the potato also we are observing all those are the structures which they are indicating, which they are differentiate that potato into nodes and internodes, and possessing all those are the buds, young growing parts like buds what they are developing. So finally we understand that is the structure is not root, because if it is root we are not observing any nodes and internodes. It is a stem, that's why nodes and internodes and axillary buds are also developing on the structures like okay, stem tubers like potato. Understood? So these two are the very good types of underground stem modifications. Next we go for two more underground stem modifications we see in. They are corms and bulbs. The third type it is, what it is? Corm. Another type of underground stem modification is corm. So corm is also a type of rhizome, how the rhizome is growing, but the difference in between these two is, okay, rhizome is branched, Rhizome is branched, but these corms are unbranched. And one more thing is, rhizome grow horizontally or parallelly beneath the soil. But here it is also beneath the soil surface, but it grows vertically. It is not expanded in form. It is not expanded form, and it is not branched. So corm is unbranched, vertically growing part of the underground stem. Now you got the point. And they haven't lateral branches. Now you got the point. They haven't lateral branches. There in the rhizome we see what it is. Branches are there. Branched structures we seen, and they are growing horizontally in a rhizome. But in the corm, the main stem, the underground stem, is grows vertically under the soil or beneath the soil. Now you got the point, students? Under the soil or beneath the soil. So they grow vertically, and it is unbranched. And it bears so many daughter corms. It bears so many daughter corms, and they possess some adventitious roots from nodes. Generally it is the part of underground stem, so it also differentiated into it also differentiates into nodes and internodes. In general, we seen this differentiation just in the stem only. So nodes and internodes, and they possess what they possess? They possess buds and scaly leaves. Wherever the bud is present, there we are expecting scaly leaf. If it is the stem under the ground, scaly leaf which is giving protection. So this is the information about corm. The structure of the corm, the exemplary organisms of the plants which they are going to show corm-like structures, corm-like stem modifications in the plants like yes, Colocasia, and second one is Amorphophallus, also called as Jamincund or elephant foot. Amorphophallus, Colocasia, and Gladiolus, and Crocus. In all these are the different plants what we see in a type of underground stem modifications called corms. Now you better to draw the structure of corm in Colocasia, how it is. See, all these are the lesions are indicating yes, they are nodes. Here node 1, this is node 2. node to node in between a portion of the stem is called, internode. Internode. Have you got the point? From these nodes only we are expecting the development of the axillary birds, what they are developing on this particular nodal portions. And from this particular margins of this colocasia like corm, we seen young buds are developing into daughter corms. See here. Like that, number of daughter corms are going to be developing. Number of daughter corms are going to be developing. All these are the corms which they are developing into daughter corms. See here, all these are daughter corms they are developing here. These are called daughter corms. All these are the daughter corms. When they get separated from the parental one, then they are growing like an individual plant, like colocasia. In the colocasia we see this type of arrangement only. These are called corms. Corms are growing vertically into the soil. This is the portion which we are calling what it is, soil. Understood? Under the soil, this is the stem which is developing or modifying by storage of food. It is going to be swollen and vertically it is growing into the soil. This type of development in which stem we seen, it is called corm, a type of stem, underground stem modification. Next we are going to discuss about another type of underground stem modification is bulb. So bulb is another underground modification where we seen in the plants like different plants like onion and garlic, lily plants. So these plants, onion, scientific name Allium cepa. Garlic, scientific name is Allium sativus. Lily, Lilium candidum. All these are the scientific names or botanical names of all these different plants. Understood? All these are the plants, they possess a type of stem, underground stem modification called what it is, bulb. What is bulb here? Once you check, the bulb is in the bulb the main stem is discoid. Main stem in the bulb is discoid in condition, students. You please remember, discoid. The main stem where we are observing in the bulb, it is going to be discoid. So the discoid stem which is present under the soil, suppose to think it is a soil, here discoid stem we seen here. This is a discoid stem. The stem is turned into a plate like structure. The stem is not vertical, it is developing and it modified into a small disc like structure or plate like structure or discoid structure. From this discoid structure like stem only we are expecting what, a large number of adventitious roots are getting developing and penetrate into the soil or percolate into the soil only. Percolate into the soil. So on above the side, here in the center of this discoid stem we have a small bud like structure we are observing in the center, means it indicating it is a apical bud. What it is? Apical bud. So around this apical bud a large number of nodes are going to be what we call here, they are in the form discoid in form. So from all the nodes they are radially produced, different kinds of leaves are going to be projected, developed. These leaves are called radical leaves or radial leaves what they are producing. Radical leaves or radial leaves what they are producing. These radial leaves are produced around the apical bud by giving very little gap only. Here that parts of the leaves like leaf bases which they are inner region of this bulb are fleshy and edible. inner region of the bulb, possess what it is, leaf bases. All the leaf bases radially they arranged and they are fleshy and stores food materials and deposits food materials. That's why they are edible. When we come from the center to the periphery, we have a large number of dry layers like leaves we are observing called tunics. What they are? Tunics, which are very much important for giving protection to the innermost region of the bulb only. Understood, students? And in between the one radial leaf to another radial leaf, the gap what it is maintaining an angle called axial, there a number of buds are developing. Those buds are called axillary birds. What they are? Axillary birds. These axillary birds are very much important for producing young or daughter copies of plants which they are producing here. Understood? So it is a apical bud. What it is, students? It is apical bud. Around this bud, a number of thick fleshy scaly leaves are going to be developed. Thick fleshy scaly leaves are going to be developed. Here see, all these are the thick fleshy scaly leaves are going to be developed. These are thick fleshy scaly leaf bases. Actually these are leaf bases. Due to the storage of food only, they are going to be fleshy and they are edible. They are what they are? They are edible in nature. Means they are eatable. Understood? Around these radial leaves, we are also observing continuation of the other outer radial leaves which are dry in condition. Which are dry are also there. Around these are going to be, we are observing some other dry scaly leaves we are observing. Dry scaly leaves we seen at outer region or peripheral region. These are called tunics. What these are? These are called tunics. These tunics are giving protection. So when all these are the leaf bases attaches to the stem portion, we have a number of regions like axils are going to be formed. In all the axillary regions, we are expecting what some buds are going to be developed. These buds are called axillary birds. Which they developed in the axillary region. This is called apical bud, which is growing towards the outside of the soil as what the plant structure comes out of the soil. So but it is the structure due to deposition of food, it is looking like a bulb. What it is? A bulb. So this bulb like structure, what it is formed as from the stem portion only. Stem portion under the ground, it is called underground stem. Understood? Which is going to possess all these other root-like structures they are producing called adventitious roots. Adventitious roots, what they are projecting from the disc-like structure what it made by the main stem. Now got the point? Like that, this type of arrangement we seen in the plant like onion. What it is? Onion or Elysium cepa. And this is the bulb is also differentiated into actually three categories. In that the first one is a tunicated bulb. What it is? Simple tunicated bulb. Tunicated means tunica is present here. Tunics. So radial leaves we are observing. So simple tunicated bulb we seen in onion. In onion we seen simple tunicated bulb. In second one is complex tunicated bulb. We seen in the tunicated bulb, we seen in the garlic. In the garlic we have number of bunches of bulblets they are developing. Around each and every bulblet they have a individual membranous sheath-like structure. But here only single membranous sheath-like structures covers the inner portion of the onion bulb. So here it is complex tunicated bulb. The third one it is they are scaly bulb or naked bulb. Scaly bulb or naked bulb like structure we seen observe in a particular plant like Lilium candidum. This is the information about the bulb. So all these four different types of all these 4 different types of underground stem modifications what we have discussed now. In the next lecture we are going to discuss about area stem modifications like stem tendrils, thorns, phyloclads, cladodes, okay, and bulbils. Now got the point. So like that all these are the underground stem modifications are very much important for vegetative propagation what they are developing from all these are the axillary birds. If they are growing well then they detach from the parental bulb, then individual axillary bird is growing like an individual plant with the help of roots. What actually they have individual roots they are producing as adventitious roots what they are projecting from the okay all the nodal portions which they are in the discoid form of stem what it hide inside the soil. Thank you.